I'm just getting my tea. Hang on. So even though the things you're kind of trained to look at might be hard edges, that's where we tend to focus, where hard edges meet, because they're very dramatic. Really, the vast majority of this is soft, of this work is soft edges, including everything up. Here, hold on, I'm gonna, oh.
That's my dog in the background.
Okay, including where darker parts of the iris meet lighter parts, if that makes any sense. So the first thing I want to practice as we're going to go in and work on eyes is like how we might paint that. A, how we might mix it, and B, how we might paint that. And in fact, I've decided I'm just going to, before we do anything else, I'm going to put this over here. We're going to practice just one eye big. You can do this with me or you can just watch, right?
Okay.
But I'm going to sketch out.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. The shape of the eye. Yeah, there we go. We're going to practice what this mark making actually looks like. And part of what I'm doing here is sketching in where the major transitions are in pencil. And let's see. All right, so one of these days I'm going to get a better, there we go. Okay, so what color are these cat's eyes? Color is it?
Green, yellow.
They're sort of green and yellow. There's a little bit of kind of orangey red even. So I'm going to go up just a little bit so I can fit more of this here. So I'm going to put on my palette for mixing. Oh yeah, and let me do this really quick. I'm gonna, because I happen to have some burnt sienna out on my palette for my painting this morning. I'm just gonna pull it over. I'm gonna very quickly and lightly just glaze it. So while we're practicing color mixing and brushstroke, there'll be a little bit of value on there. So let's take, I don't know what green you have. Do you have Viridian green?
Let me check. I have a few. I've got permanent green deep, permanent green light, green yellowish green.
No, you definitely don't want that. You want a darker green if you can have it.
Yeah, I'll go just for the darkest one I have.
What's that?
Yeah,
The tube doesn't tell me anything, but just get the darkest one you got out there. Yeah. And then where is mine? You're gonna have some green. You're gonna put out some burnt sienna, which is gonna function a little bit like orange and a little bit like red. And I'm gonna want as well ultramarine blue. I'm gonna want burnt umber. I'll label all these. I'm just saying them as I'm putting them out on my palette. There's burnt umber. I'm going to add white and also a little bit of yellow. I've got lemon yellow, which is kind of a cool yellow. So those are the 6 colors I've got out. Yeah, and I'll take a picture. Actually, let me label them and I'll take a picture of them so you can see them because it's very hard to see that sometimes. Radiant green, burnt sienna, burnt umber, ultramarine blue, white, lemon yellow. And let me like take this off so you can kind of see what these look like. Oops. I'll send this across the thread. Okay. Oh, let's see. Okay, here we are. I'm going to send over the palette so you can see it. I know you don't. I know, by the way, that you don't have all the same colors as I do, and I don't necessarily expect that. But it's good to know kind of what your colors look like and what my colors look like and what I'm working with. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is work with the darker areas here. And I'm going to go to a standby that I always use for darks, almost always, which is burnt umber and ultramarine blue. I never use black, ever. I find blacks to be kind of like dull and or kind of too transparent for my taste. So when I'm painting, mixing a dark, I will mix complements. Blue is blue. What's the complement of blue? Do you remember? Poor Anna. I'm like, just totally, you're the only one. That's right. What's the complement of blue? Do you remember?
Orange.
Yeah, great. So burnt umber acts both like an orange and a red. Okay, so you can, so this blue makes this, so if I mix blue and brown together, I get a very rich kind of dark. And I'm laying that in around the edge. And things are still a little bit wet. So it's still looking a little transparent. I'll need to probably go in a little bit. I'll need to go with another layer when this dries. And then the pupil is also very dark. So when I'm mixing browns and browns, I'm always doing that. You can do this with me or just watch as I kind of or just test with the mixing because we're going to have plenty of time to do this, right? So if I'm trying to mix this kind of light green color, you can see that green doesn't really do it, right? When I compare green to the yellow, it just isn't. And even adding yellow to the green also doesn't do it. Can you see that? It's too kind of green.
Yeah.
It's way too green. So what I always need to do is mute my green with a little bit of the complement. In this case, you could try either burnt sienna, right, which can be a red or a orange, or you can mix burnt umber, which can serve as a red or an orange. I'm actually going to try mixing a little bit of burnt umber, Viridian green with burnt sienna. And then lightening it with yellow. A little bit more green there, maybe more yellow. We're getting a little bit closer to the color that's kind of the darker area. See if I can lighten it with white. I might need to get more white on my palette. Yep. So now I'm getting greens that are a little bit more khaki colored. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get a little bit more yellow here. It's easy for you to, as you see, I ran out of yellow because I made my original colors too dark. So as I'm starting to paint the eye with this mix of colors, and don't worry, I will repeat it if you need it. You don't need to memorize that. I'm coming in here with this kind of darkish green, now medium green. And then with a color that's more muted with white, right? I'm going in interesting. And kind of going where white and yellow. I'm going where like the lighter color is. Now, as I do this, kind of looking, so the light comes in around here. I'm getting more yellow. And around like this. I know it turns a little bit orange, which we'll deal with in a second. And I can see that my dark isn't really dark enough. So I'm mixing a new kind of darker greenish color over here. Yeah, there we go. And then kind of where these two areas meet, right? Where the light and the dark meet, I'm doing a little soft transition so it doesn't look so hard. I'm tapping more. And I might even want more yellow. And I might even want to get a little bit lighter. So I'm going even lighter with a more yellowy white mixture. And once again, I'm kind of tapping it up. I lost a little bit of my dark there. So I'm going to bring it back in. So see how I'm kind of going back and forth over this edge, sort of tapping. And then over here, where I've got a little bit of kind of orangey, kind of yellowish orange, I'm mixing yellow with my burnt sienna and kind of also tapping that in around the edge. Pretty cool, isn't it? It's kind of
a nice gradient.
What's that?
Creates a nice gradient.
Yes, and that's what we're looking for, right? It's really soft. So even though there's a lot of, and you can get as anal and detailed as you want about this if you can see it. There's a few little like white stripes. There's a little bit of light kind of around the iris on that edge. Really what happens is, I don't know if you can see this, it's kind of light on the bottom half here. And as it turns around and upward, the iris gets a little darker. That's partly because the upper edge is, it's shaded by the eyelid and the eyelashes, so it's a little darker. That's always happening. In any eye, that's always happening. And then the other thing is these little white dots. which are here. See, I'm like almost, this is just pure white.
Hi guys.
Hi, Sandra.
Hi.
Sorry I'm late.
Oh, that's okay. Sure you were having a good time.
Well, yeah, I got delayed this morning on my walk, so I just come back and I had to take a shower because I was dripping in sweat.
I know, and you go straight to work after this. So
Yes. I was gonna not take a shower. That's what I thought during the walk, but then I was gonna take one tonight. But then I had to go for a few more hills. By the time I got home, I was dripping, and I thought I can't paint like that.
right. If you can see, I'm kind of going back and forth. Wherever I notice a line, I was noticing one up here, I tap it out.
And it's great, your idea.
Yeah, right? We're talking about like kind of how you handle eyes, one handles eyes. And then, we're gonna need one more color here. If you have a permanent rose or an alizarin crimson, like a pinky red, you can take that, mix it with burnt umber and white, and you will get the kind of pinky skin color that's on lids, eyelids and things, the sort of open eyelids. He's a little bit more gray, so I can add a little bit of blue in there too.
Yeah, one thing that I find is exactly that color. It's sort of a purple gray. I find works really well for eyelids.
So I mix that by using kind of a cool pink with burnt umber and blue and white. And it's interesting because really there is a very dark edge here. I'm going to add that in on the bottom, but it's a tiny little line. Most of it is kind of, so I'm going to lay in the dark and then lay in the light. Around it. Yeah, in this one, definitely on the side here, you can see kind of lightish gray. And then here is this pinky color. Anyways, I love this pinky color. It's kind of on everything and everyone, no matter what your skin color is. This kind of, it's a kind of softer inner dermis layer. And I kind of once again lost my dark line. So I'm going back in and very lightly trying to, there we go, a little bit better. So even though you think of these as hard lines, the vast majority of what we're doing is soft edges. Can you see that?
Yeah.
And in a cat with fur, it's really literally almost all soft edges. And some lovely, if you look really closely, you'll get more and more attuned to seeing the shifts in the iris. And also what direction the reflected light is coming from. So those dots are actually, the white dots are reflected lights. And what's happening is the reflected lights are hitting through this way and diagonally coming across and making things lighter on this side of the iris. So and that's true of animal eyes, it's true of people eyes. true. Private eyes. No, it's not true. Private eyes. And really the key here is to remember that all of these colors are neutralized a little bit. They're all in some way a variation on gray, even though they look very bright and shiny and beautiful. They aren't exactly bright, vibrant. You know, they aren't these greens, which are bright, vibrant greens. They're more subtle than that. And I've kind of lost my color, so I need to kind of gain that back. Let's get you back. There we go. Sometimes you'll find you'll lose the layers. Anyway, so that's the kind of general principle. You're going to, of course, do the same thing when you're doing the fur, but it's bigger patterns. I'm also going to go in and darken my brown again. So it's a pretty, I'm going in and darkening my darks. It's a pretty nuanced thing. The transitions are subtler than you think they are. What are you working on today, Sandra? You're silenced.
Sorry, because I was making a racket looking to something. I'm doing my cat, so this is as far as I got. So the eyes are not finished.
Great.
It's a bit-
That's
it's a-
fabulous.
but it's an underpainting so far.
Oh, it looks
I
wonderful.
just,
Can you send a picture of it in this stage? I think it will be helpful for other people. to
sure.
see. So that's the general idea. So as you're
By the
coming-
way, Leah, I was going to ask you, your eye, is it finished? Did you start by the eye as well? Or you can, I thought that I got so far with the eye and then I should do the fur and then go back to the eye.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're not going to do your final finishing touches on the eye until you lay all the fur down, but you can get fairly, there's actually in this cat eye, and I'm assuming in yours too, there's a lot going on. There's actually several transitions between light, medium, and dark. So as long as you have kind of big transitions that you can see, lay those in.
I mean, I need to go darker now, but I don't want to go all the way dark until I finished the fur. I just sent it.
And watercolor, right?
Yes.
Yeah, then I would wait. If you were working in acrylic, of course, it would be much easier.
Yes. I should try that at some stage because I've got a set.
And it's just easier to kind of like work these. And I just realized I thought I had another picture of this kitty that I didn't mark up, but I don't see it. Let me see. Unfortunately, I don't have another picture of the kitty. So I will have to forward on the thread or a photo. And you can see here, I kind of like intentionally slopped up the eyes a little bit because I could see everybody was having trouble. I
So
want-
the eye you were working on earlier, it was like a separate eye? Or was it this eye? Ah, you did a separate eye, okay,
I did a separate eye so I could really break down the process
right.
of transition of things. So I'm gonna stop this for a second. I'm going to go to our thread. Oh yeah, that's coming along nicely. And there we go.
It's gorgeous weather here today.
Like 70s, 60s.
Sorry?
Like what's the weather? What's the temperature?
So what is the temperature? Let me look it up. Oh, right, you said like 70s. So it's 25 Celsius. I would say like high 70s, high
Nice.
70s, but it's not humid. So this is the problem we have here. It gets humid and it's very unpleasant. This is like a nice day. It's not humid. Man, the garden is open.
Wonderful, magical. All right, here, let me get us back up here on the demo. So I've just sent across the picture with, marking. Hold on just a second. Keep looking at what I'm got here. Wait, here we go. Zoom, get back to Zoom. There we are. Okay. So yeah, so now let's spend a little time. And if you're struggling to see what's going on under the black marker lines, just look at what I sent across the thread. Also, maybe I'll send a picture of this, although I'm probably going to just work on this one now that I've shown you. I have kind of all the colors mixed for it. Yeah, and look at how nicely actually, see these eyes are kind of a mess because I intentionally messed them up from last week's demo because I didn't want this to be too finished. And look at how like nicely these lights sit on top of the darks. So I never have to worry if I mess something up, right? About getting it back, getting my lights back in here when I'm working with acrylic, because look at how lights look better when they're sitting on top of darks. Now, even though I've already laid down this dark, I'm still going to need to relay it down. The reason being that you can't really blend if one side is wet and the other is dry. You could do something called dry brush, which sometimes works, but as you can see, it works much better if you've got both a wet and a dry side. Both sides are wet, so I can kind of push the paint in here. And I can pull the paint over. So it creates this kind of soft mushiness.
So sorry, I'm back.
Hey, Diana.
Hey, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yes, she's surviving.
My life is a little bit hectic right now.
Yes.
So is mine. I'm leaving on Monday. I'm panicking.
Oh my God, see,
Ah,
so exciting.
Uh,
You're gonna have the best time. You're gonna have such
Yes.
a,
I think so. I think so. It helps that I have a friend in each country.
will you send us a postcard?
A
yeah.
real postcard?
Yes.
I don't think so. Maybe.
Anyway, you can send us a postcard. via-
Real postcard.
You mean like I have to go to the post office and
Okay, forget about it.
a postcard via pictures on
Send-
WhatsApp.
send me your address just in case. But I mean, I've got
You
it somewhere, but I don't.
you can send us pictures on.
Well, you'll see my pictures on Facebook. So.
But send them on WhatsApp so we can see them. So we can-
Oh,
Or
well, you can see them on Facebook.
we can see them.
Everybody's on Facebook. Listen, nobody under 30 is on Facebook. I don't think they even know what it is.
But
Actually,
you,
you're under 30.
so
aren't
you're on Facebook and Diane is on Facebook. Why? You know, it's such a. I find sometimes I don't even have time to post to Facebook, let alone post to 2 apps.
No, I mean, I stay with one app. I stay with Facebook. I don't care if everyone else is moving to Instagram. And they're moving away from that too.
They've moved far beyond Instagram, Diana.
Yeah, I know.
It's all on TikTok right now. And that'll probably be,
There I will never go. There I will never go.
Why?
you don't really have to do it for your business. Other people do. We got it. I have to a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a bummer. I know it's not really a bummer. I kind of want to learn how to use TikTok, but
The TikTok is mostly videos, isn't it?
it's all videos. But it's an incredible way to promote your business.
I know.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
it's
I
a
just.
So here we go. So here I am working on this side. I've got this kind of grayish, bluish. Mm. Here. I wish I could get my printer to work, but it's just decided to stop. Stupid wireless printers, so annoying. There we go. So now I have kind of enough detail here. I might do more. And you'll notice it's kind of dark here, and actually this is quite light, but I'm going to fix my eyes first and then start working on the areas around them. We'll talk about color mixing for the nose. I'm not really worried about all this mess everywhere else. I can totally fix that. I hear happy little birdies.
Yes, yeah, my birds. They're enjoying the beautiful weather.
Yes, they should.
We're having
I've
pretty
had
good
some.
right now too. It's nice.
I've had some wonderful birds recently. Birds that I'm not used to. I don't even know what they are because I haven't been able to. I've heard them, but I haven't seen them.
I have this fantastic app that you just
Can you send me a photo? Because I used to have one. You put the sound and it tells you the species, right?
Yeah.
I used to have one, but it's not working.
no, I
No.
tried mine the other day and it was working.
So can you take a photo of what yours looks like in the App Store, please, over?
Yeah, let me see what.
Because there's also one that I hear on my walks, and I've been wanting to know what it is. It
Aw.
sounds like if you saw Jurassic Park. Did you guys see Jurassic Park, the first one?
No.
out. But at one stage, there's this fat, mean guy who escapes in a river, and this dinosaur who looks like a crested lizard makes these very strange noises, and it sounds just like that.
Aw. So cute.
Where is it? That it's called Picture Bird.
Let me see. I'm gonna look for it now.
Picture Bird.
Yeah, I had one that never worked.
Oh, this one is fabulous.
Picture bird, birds identifier.
Yeah.
Who's singing? That's what I need.
Yes.
It's not free. It's not free.
No, I don't. Maybe it wasn't, but it was not
It's like
expensive.
$40 a year.
No, this one doesn't cost $40 a year.
How's it going over there, Anna?
I just can't get the green right. I'm not really. I
You
tried
can't-
to lighten it, and every time I tried to lighten it,
It cost, it was a, oh, sorry.
Just 1 second. Are you lightening it with white or are you lightening it with yellow?
I mean, I'm trying to make more of the eye, the lighter area, but then I blend it out, and it pushes it to the edge again,
Okay,
and the
just
whole eye just looks
so
too dark.
so push the contrast between the dark and the light part. You need to make the dark part a little bit darker. See here? I'm gonna go darker. I'm mixing less. I'm making my dark part darker so I don't lose it. It's a very, if you're going too hard, you'll also lose it. You know, if you're pushing too hard. Right? So that's part of it as well. If you're like pushing too far like this, if you're, it's a very delicate, you see how I'm, and I kind of lost a little bit of my edge there. So now I'm going to go in with more dark. It's a lot of going back and forth. See that? So I'm almost barely touching. Now I'm going back in with my light. You'll go back and forth many times. This is the kind of, you ever see the Karate Kid, Anna? The movie?
We haven't.
Well, there's a scene where this kid is trying to learn martial arts and the teacher makes him wash his car. And the joke is, he's like, wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. Of course, later it becomes the signature move for this kid. But at the time, it's a very tedious, slow kind of.
And he thinks he's being taken for a ride, but in fact, it builds his muscles and movements for
Yeah,
exactly what he wants to learn.
patience, to have the patience of going back and forth. Quite a fun, it's quite a fun movie. Anyway, for those of us who are of a certain age, like all you have to do is say wax on. Wax on. So it's a back and forth thing, right? You push too far, you've got to go back in and relay out your lights and your darks. You might have to wait till it dries. You might have to go work the other eye. What I'm really noticing is it doesn't really do any good to lay the pupil in strongly until you've got your base layers. Right? Like now that I've got my base layers in, I'm going to start adding in this shape. And I have to kind of reshape it. Right? I'm not going to even bother with that because this is a hard line. Also, there's a nice, sweet little light edge. Kind of right in here, right where the dark iris and the light and the sort of, sorry, the dark pupil and the light meet. And this is a hard edge on one side, on the side where the pupil is. So the only really hard edge in here is this one where this pupil meets. See that? See how I was able to kind of, and it's kind of soft on this side. So if you're struggling a lot, you should let it dry and then go back to it. You might run out of paint and have to get more, you know. You might think you don't have it, and then you look out and later you step back and you realize, oh, I totally do, way more than I thought. I just need to adjust this thing over here. So there's this whole kind of very patient back and forth thing that you're doing, a little game you're playing with yourself. The only really satisfying thing is going to be this part, which are these. So if you see here, I scooped up, I've got a big scoop of white on my brush, and now I can add in, right, those hard white spots. Those are definitely hard edges.
And what the fuck?
Uh-oh, you just wrecked our G rating, Diana.
Yeah, I know.
Kidding.
My freaking paints are just,
Pissing you off?
yeah, they are. They just have the binder, but no pigment. So it's just like floating out. Hate that.
When you open them for the first time, or
Yeah.
they've been opened?
Yeah,
Oh, that's just a little bit.
it wasn't a little bit.
Oh,
It's
Sometimes they have, I know what you mean. Sometimes they're just, it depends on.
yeah,
the-
there's a bit of.
Taylor Rowney does that a lot. Paints do that a lot.
yeah,
Isn't that what you're using, Diana?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
I hate that when that happens.
I do that. I've never seen that with golden.
So I guess I have to switch to golden, but I have so much. I mean, when I buy new paint, I try to buy golden now.
Mhm. All right. So once you've gotten in a little bit, Anna, of the eyes, you're going to want to, as Sandra was very rightly pointing out, you're going to want to go back and work a little bit with the fur. And for that, I recommend a bigger brush. I actually have this, I'll show you, I have one that's whole. So this is called a fan brush, and I absolutely cannot stand it. It is my absolute unfavorite brush. But then I realized if I cut it, cut off the edges, that it made a very nice kind of edge. And now I use this all the time. The fan brush is too neat. I'll show you why I hate it. It's very neat. It's like too neat. It kind of makes this thing that's too patterny. It's too simple patterns. It doesn't look random enough. But when you make your brush raggedy, the patterns get like more random looking and it looks more natural. So this fur color is probably going to be, I'm guessing, our dark that we mix for the iris. So that's blue and brown.
Oh, Thanks, Diane. That's the one that's $40. I got
But
another one.
I didn't pay $40. They have a subscribe thing for $40. They have a subscribe thing, but not the app. I don't have that, all the bells and whistle. All I have so I can hear them. I think I paid like $3 or $4 for it.
I found another one, but
Just-
by Cornell, by the Cornell lab, you know, which is the bird. It's called Merlin.
Yeah.
It seems to be free.
I think Merlin is free. I've heard that.
But I don't, I mean, I might have paid $2, $3, $4 for it, but I do not subscribe, so I don't get any annual fees.
Okay, let me talk about painting for just a minute.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. It's important. So Anna, one of the things you'll notice is you start to work the fur is that we're really, notice I'm kind of working, oops, I've already lost. I'm gonna have to go back in and grab my edge. My dark light edge here. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Is that as I'm brushing in kind of light areas, once again, if I have this big raggedy brush, I can kind of soften the edges. So as I come in here, right now I'm using kind of a grade white. I might go back in and darken it. And I'm noticing the fur is kind of coming up in this direction. And then next to it is a darker color, right? It's kind of like this. So see how I'm getting everything wet, and then I'm brushing. I'm doing the same thing I did with the eye. I'm gonna definitely need more white. Brushing the white into the dark, the sort of medium edge. See that? So there's gonna be a lot of, so talk about like wax on and wax off. There's gonna be a lot of it. Where we look for transitions is where there's a shift in value. And if I want to, I can kind of drag a little bit of my white in here, right? A little bit to show the kind of variation in the fur. But in general, I don't have to paint every one of these little things. Where I really need to focus my energy is on where darker edges meet lighter edges. So I can see if I come up here, I've got this going on. Right. And then we're going to definitely work on this at even probably one more session because there's a lot to do. And you can see how quickly you run out of paint, how much we need to kind of, I mean, there's a lot of transitions here between light, medium, and dark. You don't have to, so you don't have to paint every piece of fur, but you do need to pay attention to the transitions, right? Here's that dark, here are these little dark. Wait, I think it's a little bit closer in, there we go. Yep. But everything has a slightly raggedy edge as it goes from one value to the next. A little bit later. Notice I laid something a little too dark down here, so now I'm lightening it by before it dries. I'm going in and laying a little bit of white. I've actually picked up some white on my brush. I haven't dipped it in water because my brush is already wet. And I've gone in and kind of blended that in. That's called mixing on the canvas. And once you get, you know, kind of more attuned to the brush and what it can do, it's how you'll do a lot of your painting. I mean, I know not everybody does this, but I think most painters who paint pretty regularly get used to this idea.
I once saw a video, and it was for watercolor, and it showed the difference if you mix on the paper or not. And it was an orange. And so, you know, you could mix the orange in advance, or you could drop some red in there, and it looked absolutely gorgeous if you mixed it on the paper.
Yeah, well,
Directly.
you can kind of react, right? Like you have this opportunity. It's not, you know,
It just looked much more natural, just so much more beautiful.
yeah, it does.
The
'cause-
way that it is in reality, because I guess it's not like a blended orange, you know, in reality. The
I'm
color.
immediately noticing as I get my darks in here, up here, that they are too heavy. So I've kind of blended them out a little bit, and I'll probably go back in and work that area a little bit more. Down here, it's a little bit orangier. So I'm mixing burnt sienna with a little bit of the blue, brown, gray that I've already mixed. So I've got blue and brown and white. Now I'm adding a little bit of burnt sienna, more white. I think that'll work. That might get too gray. But I'm just kind of adding a little bit of colors to my base. Right, so here. Up here, kind of. It's a little dark right now, but that's okay. I can go lighter on top. I can later lighten it. Or right now. And then on the side of the nose, it's a little darker. So I'm adding a little bit more blue to my burnt sienna. To the dark sides, you'll see them. By the time we work on this, and now I'm kind of working, so you see how I'm basically just constantly looking for every edge. And all of a sudden, yep, Kitty is starting to come out. Not exactly finished. We'll probably spend another week on this.
I like what you do that now, Leo, because I used to rush and mess up the painting.
Right, and now this is a long paint. This is going to take a long time, but it's such a great lesson in blending. And I probably will not go as far. I'm going to try not to go much farther right now. I'll do a little bit more, but we have so many people who are going to be jumping in next week. So Anna, let me know if you want any demos of anything in particular, but I think I've got you the beginning. I noticed you're a good self-starter. For some people, this is a very natural process. This blending is a natural process. For other people, it's harder. It takes a little bit more time, a little bit intellectually. I think it's a little harder to understand and hard to see. Notice, Anna, that when I asked you whether this is mostly hard edges or soft edges, you immediately said hard, even though the vast majority of this cat is soft edges. You know why? Because that's what you look at. That's what we notice, right? So our eye goes straight to the areas where it's, and so those are the areas where we do the most detail, where there's like hard edges. But that's not like the majority of the majority of real estate on this cat is these soft edges. It's fascinating. I might even glaze this in between this next week, like when it's dry. So I might even have us start with a glaze.
Can't believe it's after 10 o'clock and I haven't started painting yet.
Oh, really? What have you been doing?
answering emails.
Oh, so you're working, in fact.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
guys. She's in crunch time. It's the worst time.
It is the worst thing, but it is soon over.
Yes.
When is your show, Diana?
June 25th.
Oh, so when I come back, you'll still be in disarray.
Maybe even in worse disarray.
I-
But
it'll-
then,
Probably worse disarray.
but
Alright.
then it will be all calm until end of August. Then it's just normal.
Can I show you guys the cutest thing right now? I just want to show you since it got sunny.
Yeah, please distract us.
I'm going to show you something really cute. Here, hold on. I hope I don't bother them. Can you see him sitting? Oops, sorry, I scared everybody. Can you see him sitting on? Is it
Yeah.
too?
Oh, so we're happy to see they're kind of hanging out together.
Isn't that cute?
But it's very cute.
So when Mook is out, she sits in this chair. So the three of them sit in their little chairs all day. You're all right, buddy. Yeah.
The
Bazoo
good
is-
life, huh? Of living with a human.
It's the good life. I'm sorry, I walked out and they're so, every time I see them, they're so cute. In those, and when the three of them are in the little chairs, it's even more ridiculous. It's so cute. Yeah, Bazoo now sleeps in it. Now Bazoo sleeps in the studio at night.
And he comes in by himself, or do you have to?
I mean, I have to get him in, but like he always comes back at it in the evening and he leads me towards the studio.
Wow. You know, they pick up habits very quickly.
It is interesting, isn't it? Yeah, he leads me towards the studio and then he meows and he's like, meow,
They
meow,
kind of like routines. They like routines.
meow. Mhm.
Yeah.
And he doesn't seem to mind. I sit with him in the studio usually for about 10 minutes and pet him. And then I just shut the door and he stays there all night.
And
I
he's
get
got
it.
food and his litter tray and
Got food in the litter tray and he's got like a little bed and a couch he can sleep
yeah, who
on.
can beat that?
He's warm and he's not wet, he's dry. And
He's not in danger.
yeah, so I realized we kind of had to train him. Like what I noticed was he wouldn't come indoors by himself. He naturally would not do that by himself because he's an outdoor cat. He doesn't understand that. So Rob was like, well, maybe you should just lock him in. And I'm like, lock him in? That's terrible. But then I thought, no, maybe he's right.
Have to.
I should lock him in. Like I should lock him in. And sure enough, like he just didn't know because he's an outdoor cat. He just didn't understand what in was. Now he has a little bit of a better idea about that. How's it going, Anna?
Leah,
Yeah,
can you remind me for the fur, did you just use black and white or there's something else in it for the
I
crown?
never, ever, ever use black.
Ah, okay.
I never, you mean the paint tube black, like a black, you can throw that away.
Okay.
At least in my class, don't ever bring a black tube out. You'll never use it. You're always gonna mix your black. And the black I
Okay.
use for this is the same black I use for that.
Okay.
Burnt umber and ultramarine blue. So I never, yeah, basically burnt umber and ultramarine blue and white. And then down here, I added burnt sienna to that base to make it a little bit orangier. But just so you know, I will never, ever, ever allow you to use black in my classroom. Mostly because two blacks are kind of ugly. Often kind of transparent. We get richer colors when we mix them.
Yeah.
You're probably noticing from your greens here, right? There's nothing, right? If there's no comparison between what's happening here and what's here. This is out of the tube. These colors have a richness. So there are my two favorite black mixes are burnt umber and ultramarine blue.
Mhm.
Sometimes burnt sienna and ultramarine blue, although that is a little bit lighter. And then I love Viridian green and alizarin crimson. So if you don't have those colors, you might want to get them. Alizarin crimson and Viridian green.
Okay. I don't.
Like all the greens you have, you probably are noticing they have a little bit of white in them, so they're not as dramatic. It's harder to get them dark. Dark enough. Viridian green is very dark, kind of neutralish green. It's good for mixing.
I've added 4 leaves. That's what I've accomplished.
Want to send us a picture?
I mean, it's nothing to send a picture of yet. I'm gonna add some more leaves. I can send a picture.
Send a picture. Um,
But at least I'm touching the brush.
there you go. Let the relaxing
It
begin.
got a little bit crooked, but that can't be helped. Where are you guys? Thursday. And I actually think the leaves are too small. They are too small. It's good to take a picture because then you see.
And you see all the things.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. It's. Oh, wow. They're much bigger.
Yes. There you go.
Ryan,
Don't even
he
think
ma-
about
hey, it's another place. He does these clothes on the kitchen cabinets.
He what?
He does his clothes on the kitchen cabinets.
Naughty.
Yeah,
He's the
but
only one who does that on the furniture, like on my wooden furniture, on the wooden floor.
How interesting.
you know, King Tut,
Right?
he would scratch his claws on all the trees. So he just about killed my plum trees because
I can see that the trees that they climb, like they climb 2 apple trees and a cherry tree, the bark is all scarred. But they
Right.
don't actually do their claws there, but they climb up and down and we can see the poor bark is. But this guy does it on my teak chairs, on the deck,
of
on,
course.
Right.
on the leather sofa. I mean, like you name it, it's like.
Yeah.
He doesn't do it on soft furnishings. He likes wood. And I happen to have a wood scratcher made of cedar for cats, but no, that is not interesting.
Right. Of course not. Anna, one of the things I wanted you to notice is that really on this layer, we're not trying to get all the details in on the cat's fur. We're just trying to get major transitions. So can you see how I just kind of covered this whole area in a darker gray? Later, I'll come back and add a little bit more detail as needed, right? But here is like a lighter transition. So here is where I'm like kind of laying in. I'm not trying to get every mark. At this point, I'll go crazy if I try to do that. But I am trying to pay attention to the major lights and darks, right? The areas around his eyes, which are quite light, mostly. Things get much lighter as we go down here around his face. Right from the nose down, it's kind of way more light. Mine's a little bit gray, but right here. So, and I'm doing this awfully fast because I've been doing this a long time. So it's easier for me to see it. I don't expect you to see it right away. But see how quickly I'm kind of covering everything up. And then this is a darker. Right back here, it's kind of darker. Under here, it's darker. So you see how quickly I'm kind of getting, I'm not trying to get every thing in, I'm just trying to get into things that I can see. The areas that I can see, the kind of transitions from light to medium to dark. And see, I'm kind of doing this little sweeping motion. There we go. And actually, that does quite a lot. That's what's kind of shocking. You don't think it will, and then you're like, well, damn, look at that. Like, almost everything is taken care of. Not everything, but almost everything is taken care of. How crazy is that?
I mean, I'm trying to imitate you, and it's terrible.
It's okay. I've been doing this, like I said, I've been doing this a long time. I had a student once that got mad at me for saying that. They're like, I've been doing this a long time. What I was trying to say, she thought I was bragging, but really what I was, no, don't try. I mean, I'm showing you, and then you're going to have your own struggle with this. Isn't that a funny reaction? I was like, oh my God, no, that's not the point here. I'm trying to say, I know this looks easy, but it's not that easy. It's not that easy. It looks easy because when you do it 20 years, you get better at it.
Hopefully.
Yeah, you do.
I guess not everybody does.
I'm here to, well, everybody gets bitter. They can't be, can they get worse?
No, but you can stay the same.
That's true. I don't know. Oh, there's a cat fight happening. Whoa. They're bitch slapping each other
Do you have to interfere?
in a cute way. It's their little playtime.
Oh, they're not fighting.
No, they never fight, but he grew up on that. farm. So he with brothers and sisters. So he's used to being able to wrestle with them, basically.
All cats started off having brothers and sisters.
That's true, but but some like the litters don't survive, right? So some are alone, aren't very socialized.
They do lose their social skills if they've been living completely alone for a long time.
Yeah, like I don't really know the story with Bazoo. I'm kind of curious, like what his story is.
Because he doesn't seem that feral, does he?
But Muka was also born feral, and she has always shown a propensity to be with people. It's a personality thing with her. And
What's going
on? Personality wise, she's always been very, and even though he's feral, like he's very social. He's a little guy who wants to get along with everybody. He's not super aggressive. That's why he used to get beat up. He would come into me all beat up, scratched and bleeding, and because he was kind of he was less aggressive and more like wanting to kind of be friendly. So I think he had a friendly personality, but he definitely did not know anything about in. It made no sense to him. He doesn't really know how to let himself in. At least not yet. And while I'm waiting for this to dry, I'm going to take some of the yellow and white. I don't like this gray that is the kind of background. So I'm making it a little bit more yellow.
Oh no.
And that also really helps. See how just adding in that little bit of background color to kind of shape everything else. So what Sandra said at the beginning of the class, which is a really good thing to think about, is when do I stop working on this detail and start? It's a great question to ask, right? Like when is it time to stop working this deal and start working others? And this thing, we're just going to decide what to do with it. We may figure out how to make it extend it. I'm going to play with that idea. But you can see there's kind of a loose, there's still this, actually the cats come quite far. Considering I've only been like just sort of brushing in major shapes. A lot of it also, Anna, depends on tools, right? You have the tool, you have the right tool, you have the right brush. This brush would work out pretty well for this roll also. If you have one of these raggedy 1-inch brushes, they also work pretty well.
Yeah, I think I started with the wrong brush, maybe.
Probably too small and too thin and too.
No, I started with my biggest one, but it just didn't.
Let me look at it. Hold it out. Yeah, it's, you know what the problem is? It's too regular. It's too,
Mm.
but it needs to look at the difference. I have a brush. It looks like this. I'm going to show you the difference right now. And I'm also going to show you the difference in like, so I have I have a brush like that.
Hmm.
See how the bristles come together? Look at the top of them. And then this brush drives me crazy. I use it, but only in particular ways. Look at like the difference between mark making on this brush here. I'm just gonna take some orange, right? This is
My-
like kind of smooth.
My painting is ruined.
No,
I was working with an
And-
ink pen and all this ink flowed out
oh
Oh,
no,
Oh no.
into the eye.
let's
terrible.
see.
I'm gonna have to use, I'm gonna show you quickly like that. I'm gonna have to use like
A
gouache or
sponge.
something.
A sponge. Oh yeah, I see it. But maybe you can cover with
I
You
think
have
with
to-
gouache or something.
maybe gouache.
I'm sorry. What a bummer.
It's a new fountain pen and I put a different brand cartridge in it and I think that's was a bad idea with hindsight.
Sandra, I want to commend you. 3 years ago, you would have freaked out. When that happened. I was like, I did it, but I
She's
don't
still
know.
freaking out. She's just not letting us know.
She's not letting us. I mean, I know, but she's controlling it a little bit, which is good. Good job. Can you see the
Yeah.
difference, Anna, between the mark making I'm making with this smooth brush? It's leaving these little kind of ridges that aren't very helpful for me because they aren't really fur shaped. And
Yeah.
this other one, where like, see how much, so see how that makes a real difference. It's really a difference. So I never use this except when I want kind of smooth surfaces, which is rare, but sometimes happens. Like some parts of the painting. I'm more likely to want a kind of raggedy brush. Yep, there you go. Good job. Yeah, so a lot of it is figuring out your tools, figuring out what you have. And I think for the perfectionists in us, which I imagine all of us have a little bit of that in us, it's really about letting go of control. So getting the tool that will make the mark making that feels, that is, you know, you don't, there's no brush that's gonna help you make every single piece of fur. Well, actually, that's not true. I could probably do that, but why would I? Why bother? Why have something? I mean, it's a lot of work. And look at how much I've pushed the thing forward, doing the exact opposite. It's not done yet, but it is closer to done than if I was like this. Right? Trying to do it.
Mhm.
You can't. In fact, even those who say they can, it's really all just about illusion. It's about the magic trick. How do I make it look like I've done every fur without doing it? Most painters, that's what it's about. That's really what the Impressionists taught us. They taught us that it's more about like, you didn't have to get so detailed. And really anybody born after 1935 is a modernist by heart. This is how you identify painting. You don't really identify paintings by like hyperrealism. You identify them with sort of soft edges, simplified strokes, right? That's what we think of as a painting now. Of course, that wasn't true before. Let's see here. Good job, Anna. That's looking great. You're doing great. You're doing great. Add in some background. Pick a background color. Doesn't have to be the same as mine. And
Okay.
notice, and I want you to pay attention to something when you do. There isn't really this bend happening here. Here, I'll show you. So you can use your background to shape. This bend is not like the way you have it, is not really happening like that. This is more of a straight shot down. And look at kind of how it relates to the ear. A little bit of a curve up there. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So that's a more, and it's kind of more, I noticed that mine, I put my background in to notice that mine was a little bit too. Yeah. And still is a little bit. I'm gonna push this out. It needs to come out a little bit more.
Darn. Sorry, I've disappeared again.
It's okay, we get it. See how I'm kind of using my background to reshape? There we go. Now I have this feeling. I'm using my background to kind of get the thickness of him. Yeah.
Once recording stop, I'm gonna ask you guys about something.
Okay. There we go. See that? See how I can really kind of start to get those shapes of the face. I'm not totally done. I may not totally have it yet. And I think this will be a good place to stop. By the way, Anna, I think you're doing marvelously. Honestly, I know you feel you're like, I don't know. I told my students in watercolor the other night that they could totally cock up a painting if they wanted to, and everybody started laughing. Everybody assumed they were cocking up the painting, and no one was. Like, right, so there's this point where like, you're like, I totally am cocking up this painting, but I'm like, nope, it just feels like you do. Not the same as actually doing it. You know, and I think even this issue that Sandra's dealing with might be something that can be salvaged. We don't really know. But you have this feeling that it's wrong, even when it's right. In fact, I should share Paula's painting because she really said it. There. She was like, I think I've cocked up this one. And then she went on to produce from that painting a wonderful finished painting. So it's interesting, that feeling.
Mm.
You think you're massive, but not really. In fact, I think I'm going to find that here. Hold on. Tuesday. Yeah, everybody really hit this one out of the park, but it was a struggle. It was a struggle. So here's where she said, hold on. Oh yeah, here's where she said, I think I've messed it up. I'm going to forward it. Can I do that from here? How do I? Wait, forward, here we go. Take a look at this.
Rescue is at hand. I found my gouache and a palette.
So if you look at this, she will say, this is where she said, I think I've totally cocked up this painting. And then here's the painting that she came up with at the end. So we always think, and working out the same painting. So I was really proud of her to be able to vocalize that and also to realize, wait a minute. Here it is. Look at, this is what she did at the end. Oops, no. Hard to figure out how to use this on the desktop. Here we go. See that? So she thought she was off, but she wasn't really. And look at that beautiful painting she wound up with. It was really neat. I
Oh, I
love
think
this.
it might be the same one. Is it?
No, it's not. Look at it. Look closely. Look very closely. You should be able to see.
Oh,
Yeah, it's significantly different. Between what she thought was a cock up and what she wound up with as finishing the final. Do you see my point? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I was going by the feet are in the same position, so I thought it was the same picture.
If you look very closely, you will see significant differences. Study those.
Yeah.
Study
yeah.
those. That is exactly the difference between where we think we are messing things up and when we're actually going forward. It's fascinating.
Mm.
Interesting, huh? I'll be right back.
Oh. Shit, pommes frites.
All right. Yeah, stop the recording because I think at this point we're probably done. I'll turn it back on when we're ready to show where we're at. So hold up. There we go.
I don't.
Here are our meows, our meowity meows. Sandra and Diana have painted their own cats. Anna and I have worked from a photo source, the same photo source. Really nice work, you guys. This is really good. You're on target.